everyone, welcome to Driving Approach. My name is Alexei and you're watching Approaching Driving. And today's video is going to be about what buttons mean or do in the car. We already have a spectator. And today's video is about what each button means in the car. And I have divided the car into 8 sections, with the first one being outside. And the car that I'm going to be looking at today is our longly beloved Elantra. This video ended up being much longer than I expected, 35 minutes to be exact. So I decided to break it down into 2 parts, where in the first part would be about the first 4 sections that I divided the car into, to talk about all the buttons that it has. So those 4 sections would be the outside, that would be first, inside, the armrest of the driver and each of the passengers, that would be 2, to the bottom left of the steering wheel, that would be 3rd section, and the actual steering wheel would be the 4th section. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. And in the next video it would be the obviously last 4 out of the 8 sections, which would be the Prindle, which is the transmission selector, that would be 5th. The AC controls, that's like in the middle of the console, which would be 6th. And the entertainment system and the screen would be the 7th section, and the 8th section would be the roof, which is the controls for the sunroof and also for the lights to be on and off. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in the second part of this video, which is talking about all the buttons that the car has. So I'll leave you to continue watching the video. Hyundai Elantra 2018 2-liter, and it's not fully loaded, but it's also not a base model. So it's somewhere in the middle. I think it's SE. I'll write at the bottom the exact trim of this specific model. I think it's SE, SE and something else, plus or C plus. The first section on this car is the buttons are outside, and on this car there are 3. First is on each door handle to lock and unlock the car, and the third one is the trunk button. Not all the cars have the button for the trunk. This one does. So that's the first one, and then there's the black button on each side, on the right and on the left front doors, that either unlocks or locks the car. This is the proximity key feature. Okay, so moving on from the first section, again, there are 8 sections that I divided the car into, to look through all the buttons that are in the car. And the first section was the buttons on the outside, and there are 3 of them. One on this car, one for the trunk to open it, no button to close it, and 2 buttons on each side of the front doors to lock or unlock the car, to use the proximity key feature that this car has. So moving on to the second section of the car that I decided to do, which is the left door arm rest. And on this is a section where most of the cars, just like this one, have the buttons to open and close the windows. So I'll start up the car. So the first buttons that almost everyone knows are the buttons to open and close the windows. The driver has the ability to open and close all 4 windows in the car, obviously, because he's a driver. He might need to open the right rear window or left rear window and wants to be able to open and close. So those are the 4 buttons over here. And on this car, only the left front window is auto, meaning that you don't have to hold the button to for it to fully close or fully open. So if we click on it like so, fully, it goes all the way down, and if we put it all the way up, it goes all the way up. Doesn't happen to any of the other buttons, so you have to fully hold the button and only then it will continue opening, and fully hold it until it fully closes, so that it closes. So those are the first 4 buttons from this section. And also each door has a button like that and nothing else pretty much. There's that button over there as well, and there's the button just for each individual window on each door for each passenger. And none of them are auto in this configuration of this car. I'm pretty sure that the top of the line Elantra the same year, I think, had all 4 auto buttons for each window. Okay, so moving on to the next button is the lock and unlock the doors. Is to lock and unlock the car. This button actually mimics the black button that's from the first section that was on the outside. So it's the same way. It can lock and unlock the car, and it's also present on the same armrest for the right passenger. And that's the only feature, other than opening and closing the window, that's available for the passenger on the right on this car. Okay, next button in this section is this one, and that's the button that either allows or doesn't allow the rear passengers to open and close their windows. This is mostly for kids purposes, probably, so they don't open the windows, don't throw stuff out, don't throw themselves out and stuff like that. Yeah, if it's in the up position, they are unlocked, so they can freely open and close the windows, and if it's in the lower position, it's locked, and the rear windows cannot be open or closed with the buttons that are available in the back, but they still can be open and closed by the driver. Moving on the top of this section, we have the left and right choice to move and adjust the side view mirrors for the driver. So it's pretty straightforward. You click on the left, you chose the left, and then you can move it up and down, and it will be moving. You adjust it the way you want. Here, I'll show. So we press it up, it moves up. We press it down, it moves down. You adjust it. Usually you want to see mostly the road. It's probably something like that. Shouldn't be really looking too much at your car, and should be straight. Yeah, so that's the end of this section, the second section, with the opening and closing the windows, locking and unlocking the doors, allowing or not allowing rear passengers to open and close the windows, and the adjustment for the side view mirrors. So that was the second section of the buttons inside the car, well, and outside, just in car in total, in general. Next section is at the bottom to the left, of the steering wheel, which is these buttons. So starting from the left, where you can see the light bulb and the dial indicator and the button and plus and minus at the top and at the bottom, this is to increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster panel and this monitor in the middle, this white color. So if you go all the way down, it's not gonna have any brightness to it at all. If you go all the way up, it's gonna have all the brightness that it has. Don't remember where I was, I think somewhere here. Next button is the button for the blind spot detection. You can either activate it, and if you activate it, it's going to be blue, or you can deactivate it and it's not going to be blue. It's just not gonna light up. So right now blind spot is activated, right now it's deactivated, and when you turn on, it lights up orange, because that's how it's going to indicate if there is a car in the blind spot when you're going to try to change lanes, and if the computer is going to detect the car, it's going to flash and beep and warn you that there's somebody in the blind spot. And with this button you can activate or deactivate that system. Next, we actually don't have any buttons because this is not a fully loaded car. To be honest, I don't know what would have been here on the fully loaded Elantra. If you know what that button is on a fully loaded Elantras, please write it in comments. Yeah, or sooner or later I will search it up myself, but write it in the comments. I want to see what you guys if you guys know what button that should be. And the fourth button from this section is the traction control off button. So you click it right here, and the display in the front, in the middle of the cluster panel, tells you that traction control is disabled, and the traction control symbol lights up right here, like this is off, and like this it's on. And that's it for the third section that I decided to break down the car into. Let's move on to the next section. The fourth section that I have divided the car into to look into all the buttons that the car has is the steering wheel. And the steering wheel on this car has two sets of buttons, on the left and on the right. The buttons on the left mostly control the phone features and the music, which also could be done through the phone or through the radio or through USB or AUX port. So the first button on the top left corner is the command button. If you have an iPhone and you have plugged it in, it will activate Siri. If you have Android, it will activate the Google Assistant. And the computer on the Elantra actually has its own voice activation. So if I click on it,
please say a command.
It'll say, please say a command, and it's going to actually listen to me.
Sorry, I didn't understand you. Please try your command again after the beep.
Turn on radio.
I still didn't understand you. Please try your command again after the beep, or say help.
Radio.
Now listening to FM radio.
You know, at least it's somewhat helpful. Okay, so moving on. To the right of this button is the mode button, and it changes from FM to AM and to AUX. Just changes those modes. So if we click here, changes AM, Sirius XM, FM, and if you would have AUX plugged in, it would switch to that as well. Okay, so next, in the middle section on the left, we have the volume knob or button. So obviously up is up for volume, down for volume, and you can actually click right on it and it will mute. Just mute the volume, which is very helpful. If you have it in mute and you switch to the next song, it actually will unmute it and start playing. It's just my volume was at 0, that's why it wasn't playing at all. Yeah, and the moving to the right of this knob is the selection for songs. Next song would be clicking it to the top. Previous song, or starting the song over, would be clicking it down. When you're in radio, it switches through the stations that you have selected, or if you didn't select any, it would be just searching for the closest station that's there. Okay, so moving on to the bottom, and you have your regular pick up the phone and stop the conversation button, green and red, right here. So that's all the buttons on the left side of the steering wheel. Moving to the right side of the steering wheel on this car, it's mostly the controls for the display, for the monitor that's in the middle of the cluster panel, where you can switch through the pages that are there. So first one, where it's like you can see the speed and the range that you drove. Then it's the music that you have on. If you have AUX playing, it will show you what song it's playing. But in 2018, Elantra was only able to read, it doesn't read all the languages, so it might not read some of the languages, but English for sure it will recognize and will write the name of the song there. Right now it's showing FM and it's 99.9, or you can switch. Okay, and then it shows you when the service is due. That's the mileage for oil changes, and at the end is just settings for driving assist, door, lights, sound, convenience, service intervals, and stuff like that. So with this button you scroll through each different page that display has. Yeah, so like I started saying, this section primarily gives you control over the display, and it has the cruise control. So with cruise control, you're gonna click here, and it's actually gonna show you right there that you have cruise control on. And then when you get to the speed that you want to set it at, you would click set, and it will set it. And while you're in cruise control, you can push the lever up to accelerate, or push the lever down to decelerate, or you can cancel the cruise control altogether, or you can speed up to a certain speed and click up, and it will reset the cruise control to that speed. So this button was scrolling through the pages just like it shows on the display. The cruise control is to turn on or turn off the cruise control. Actually, cancel doesn't remove cruise control, so cruise control could only be turned on or turned off by this button, and then set or reset by this knob. So pages, cruise control, this is to scroll through the page up and down. So pages on the display go from left to right, that's this button, and this button will let you scroll up and down through that specific page that you chose with this button. The second knob is for cruise control, just like I said, and OK and cancel is for scrolling through the display. For example, you need to set up something in settings, you would move up and down, you would click like OK for sound. If you want to go back, you would cancel and go back. Actually, cancel doesn't work for any of them. There's always a back button that you can scroll to and click to move back. So that's the end of the fourth section of the buttons in the car. So we went through the buttons outside, we went through the buttons on the left arm rest for the driver. We went through all the armrests for each passenger. There are not many buttons there. We went through the section that's to the left, to the bottom left of the steering wheel. We went through the steering wheel, and now we're moving on to the fifth section, which is the brindle.